Now, while some Western designers showed their fall 2017 collections at New York Fashion Week, many Chinese brands unveiled their spring 2018 looks. They included Vicky Zhang, a label that focuses on making mother-daughter clothes. Karina sat down with designer Xinyin Xu and began by asking what inspired her latest collection.
In this season, my inspirations are from China's Tang Dynasty. The Tang Dynasty was the most bustling era in China's history. That's why we use Tang as inspiration. We combine Chinese culture and Western cultures together as our inspirations this time. The theme is Harmony is Precious, and we used elements of the lotus. But we hid the lotus element inside the clothes, so the Chinese element is actually not too obvious.
Do you often mine China's history for inspiration for your clothing?
I don't always use Chinese elements in my design. We turned to the Chinese history for inspiration this time because of our theme, Harmony is Precious, and also because we are a parent-child clothing brand. My wish is for world peace, and so I took the corresponding lotus element, which is one of the representatives of the Tang Dynasty.
In your designs, you design not only for women, but mothers and children. Where did this idea come about to create a clothing line for families, basically?
The idea of a parent-child clothing brand came from the birth of my daughter. When she was 2, I wanted to create a brand for her that can grow with her and keep her company.
The mother-daughter concept, does that really work best in China, or do you see it being exported to other countries around the world?
I was in China a year before my clothing brand launched, where I found the concept of parent-child clothing very popular. But I think family affections are not limited by borders. Whether you are in the US or in Europe, there are many brands that are coming out with parent-child clothing as well. Therefore, I think parent-child clothing will be a trend all around the world.
Now that China has relaxed its one-child policy, do you see that there's growing demand for mother-daughter brands?
We are now well accepted by many Chinese families.
What kind of person is your customer? How would you describe her?
I think our targeted clients are families, from young children to adults. Even though my brand is labeled as parent-child clothing, I would say that in a way we are a brand with 2 separate lines, childwear and women's wear. We also have clothing for the dads. Actually, our targeted clients are families all over the world.
What other markets have you been able to penetrate with this brand?
We brought our brand to Singapore a while ago, where our clothing is quite popular. We had a successful show at New York Fashion Week last year, so we just started our business in New York. We have our own distributors and partners here.
Staging a show at New York Fashion Week is very expensive. Why is it worth the investment?
Because I've always wanted to have our brand settled all around the world. We were popular in New York last year, so I wanted to come back here with the advantage of having our own distributors here to keep staging shows every year. I also believe that New York is very inclusive for international designers to launch their brands here. I also think clothes on New York Fashion Week are more practical and closer to everyday life. We did small adjustments to the clothes this year in the hope that more people in America will like our brand.
You've shown in New York and you've also shown in Beijing. How do the shows in China differ from those in New York?
When I had shows in China, I invested more on how to implant Chinese culture into my designs regarding China's 5,000-year culture. Here in America, I think Americans care more about the practical functions of clothes. So we would do small adjustments to the designs, including colors of the clothes, in consideration of the different cultures of the 2 countries.
What do you hope to achieve this year at New York Fashion Week? Is it to grow your customer base in the Western world or to increase your profile back in China?
I hope more people in America would get to know my brand, Vicky Zhang, and more people here would accept us. I hope my launch here could get better. This is my goal this year.